Good evening, everyone. I am Diovana. I hope you can hear me properly. I am your host for tonight, and also my colleague Ludo. Good evening, Ludo. You here?
Good evening, everyone.
Is it a pretty weather in Amsterdam too?
It's beautiful. I was
It is
outside
nice,
a lot
huh?
today.
Yeah.
I was lucky again to be a buying agent this time. Much better
Nice.
than when it's raining.
Yes, much better, especially when you have to do viewings.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So let's start the webinar. We are here to talk a little bit about how you can buy your house in the Eindhoven area in the Netherlands and share with you a bit of our knowledge about it. Wait a second. Oh, wait, there we go. Today's sessions will be recorded and shared with you, so you probably will receive tomorrow or by Monday an email with this a PDF file about with the presentation you see tonight, and also with the video, so you can, if you maybe forgot something, you can rewatch it. But even though if you actually forgot something today, please feel free to drop us an email, send us an email. We'll be happy to answer your questions afterwards. But we are also going to answer them after the presentation and during the presentation. Ludo will do that. And after we finish the whole presentation, feel free to ask us any question you have. We will answer all of them. And if you forget something, you can always send us an email. So as I told you, I am Diovana. I am expat buying manager, also a rental manager. I am from Brazil. I've been in the Netherlands for about 13 years. I have 2 children, a son and a daughter. I moved here in 2009. I moved all the way up north in Assen and then Groningen, and then moved to the south to Eindhoven. Rented a bunch of places, not just one, a bunch of places before I bought my own house. I bought my first house in Eindhoven, and then I renovated the whole house, and then I sold the house and I bought another one and renovated completely. The first one was a new build. It was a new house, completely new. And then the second one was a very old house from 1906. So I had to renovate the whole house again. Let's get to know you a little bit and see who is joining us tonight. We have a poll, so I'll give you a few minutes to answer those questions, so we get to know how did you find it and stuff like that. I give you about 30 seconds. I think you can fill it up. Yeah, and let us know how did you find us, and later in the presentation we're also going to ask you how are you, where are you in the process of buying a house, if you already talked to someone, or if you know, if you have any knowledge, or if you already made an offer maybe. So let's see how it goes. I think I will give you a few more seconds and then we can continue. I hope everyone is enjoying the weather. Thank you for being here though, because it would be very tempted to be outside. It's quite nice. Let's see, I think we've done. We can keep it going. There you go. A bit of what we're going to talk today, a little introduction about the whole process, some market information, of course, some market drivers, some what do you need to have in savings to be able to buy a house in the Netherlands. We put together some 3 tips to win in the market, in this market, and the way it is, and also a timeline for you to understand what happens in the buying process, what it's the beginning and what is the end, and what all the steps in the middle that you're gonna go through, and how do they work. So we made a timeline so you can actually see how it's going to be the whole process of buying a house in the Netherlands. Greatness is the achievement in the agents of others. So here is our H&N group. We are all buying agents from all over, so you can see where we are from, and we work in the whole Netherlands. Amsterdam, Maastricht, Groningen, Utrecht, here in Eindhoven, the whole Eindhoven region, Tilburg, Den Bosch, Breda, you name it, Den Haag as well. So this is our team, my team. I'm very proud of this team, very, very good people here. And we always give our best to help our clients to find a home. Brief introduction of our companies. Our company, we are not traditional real estate agents. We don't have house for sale or for rent. We help people buying a house and renting a house. We have also a fixed fee for our service. We have no commission, so you can, if you have the budget, of course, you can buy a house up to, doesn't matter. Let's use €1 million if you must, and we will charge you a fixed fee. If you have a budget of let's say 300 will be the same. So just so you know, we know what it's like to settle in a new country. All of us have been abroad, have lived abroad before in multiple countries. So we know what you've been through or what you're going through. And of course, especially if you are talking about the buying process, but not just the selling process in a new country. What is our added value? So selling agents do take offers from buying agents much more seriously. They know that we have checked everything, that we discussed the whole process, the market prices and your budget, of course, and your savings. So they will look at, they know that we're going to only send an offer for a client that is able to pay, that is able to commit to the offers. We can sometimes book viewings when it's no longer possible. That's true. Normally, if you call, if you see a house on Funday and you call for an appointment, and if it's already full, they probably do still have a bit of time left for the agent. So we are able to book viewings when you guys don't have the chance. We support by review all the Dutch legal and property documents. I do speak Dutch. As I told you, I've been here for 13 years, so I got to learn the language. So if I did it, you can do it. Don't lose your hope. It's a terrible language, but you can do it. But yes, all the documents will be in Dutch for sure. You might have an explanation in English about a few things, but the legal documents will be in Dutch. So we are able to review all of them with you and make sure that you assign the correct documents. We help define market value through market data. That's very important when you send an offer for a house, to be aware of the market value and not just the value that it is on Funda. We're going to talk about this a bit further. I'll explain more deep about this, and we inform about all the rules and regulations. Depends on the house that you buy, if there is a ground lease, if it's a monument, or if it's an apartment and it has the owner association. There is different rules and regulations for different houses, different properties, different apartments, or if you want to build something, if you're buying a ground. So if you want to build something, that's not that easy in the countries, in this country, there's a lot of regulations that you have to follow. So we will inform you about everything, depending on the kind of a property you're looking for. Let's go further. Where are you in the process? So we'd like to know, where are you guys now? Are you doing search? Are you doing viewings? What are you doing? Have you already put in an offer? So let's see what you can tell us about it, just for us to have an idea of where are you, if you have sent an offer, if you have have you, for example, look at documents of a house, for example. That's very important. So did you talk to a mortgage advisor? That's also very important, or the bank at least. So it will be nice to know where you guys researching. I see viewing properties, that's good. Okay, did you chat with a mortgage broker yet? I see a lot of no's here, so please do, people. You have to do that. That's the first thing you have to do before you start your buying process, before you search for your house. You really need to know your financial power before anything. And I'm telling you this because things change, depends on your payslip. Everything can be different for every company. For example, if you have a bonus, if you have a 13th salary, if you have home allowance, every bank will accept in a different weight, and your budget can be a bit higher or a bit less than you think. So please contact a mortgage advisor before anything. That's very important. If you guys don't have a mortgage advisor yet, or of course you can always call your bank, but if you don't want to call, not just call your bank and talk to a mortgage advisor and you don't know anyone, please send me an email. You're going to receive my email at the end of the presentation, and I can send it to you a few names I have worked for myself, for example, and people that we have as partners in the company. You can always call them and have an intake, have a chat about your financial process as well. So I think we had time enough for this. Let's continue. Let's see. Some market information, that's very important. Let's start with some numbers. We have the average price in Eindhoven area. It's quite high lately. We have in 2020, 334,000 euros more or less an average price for the house. That was the purchase price in our area. And then last year was 438. So it was really, really high. We are hoping that this year is still, although with everything that is happening, all the awful things actually that are happening, we are still looking for a market that is going to grow a lot still this year, 12-13% for sure. And next year there are people talking about 5 to 6%, but we believe that it might be even go up higher still. So just so you know, it's still a good time to buy, because the prices are still going up and up, and we don't see them going down whatsoever. We see them slowing down a little bit, but it all going to depend what is going to happen with the whole war thing and everything else. So we need to see how it goes, but so far we don't see much of a difference. Of course, we see the difference in interest rates already. They went up a little bit, but this is what the market look like for now. So let me come back. Eindhoven figured specific ones. Household. So last year you can see there were 1,049 houses for sale, householders. House for sale 679. That was 40% less than the year before, which is quite low, quite high actually. Not many houses in the markets, but I can tell you, normally I tell my clients that it's normal during the winter period that you don't see many houses on Funda, because if you don't need to sell your house and you have a very nice garden, for example, you will wait until spring and have more sun, like a day like today, that you can see the light actually in the house, the light coming in the property, and you wait to put on the Funda. But this year I see that it's less and less houses coming. So there are not many for sale, and there are way too many people to buy a house. So, but it's a tendency that from now on, since the weather is getting better, that you see a little bit more houses. But normally in the years 2 or 3 years ago, you would see way more. Now it's just a little bit more. Just be aware of that. Average purchase price 433,000 euros, 60.1% more from last year, from the price from the year before, which is very, very high. The average price per square meters 3,521, and then the time that the house was on Funda, it was around 21 days only. So that's also very not that much. So the houses went away quite fast on Funda, but we can all understand that because there were not many houses, of course, and as I said before, too many people. But just for you to understand the Eindhoven market, some market drivers that we can see what caused the price to increase. Fiscal benefits, of course, with the benefit of the 2% ruling, the 2% transfer tax that you don't have to pay if you are the tax exemptions if you are younger than 35, and if you buy a house up to 400, and if it's your first house in the Netherlands, that gives a lot of benefit. Of course, interest rebate, no capital gains, tax-free, parent donation, that shall be ending soon, so pay attention to that. And of course, low interest rates. The interest rates went high lately, and we don't know what is going to happen. There are not much comment about it. And of course, what makes everything goes insane is the lack of supply, not just for buying, but also for renting. So that makes the market go. And then what happened is that the government is not being able to build as fast as they want it to be. So that also doesn't really help the market, of course. There are some rules that are going to be in place. Self-occupants obligation. After you receive the presentation, you can click where you see over there, and you can read about the articles that will say that, which means that you have to buy a house, and from April 22, self-occupants obligation for at least 4 years will apply in Eindhoven. You have to buy a house and live in the house yourself. For property with a WOZ value value up to 350. Here is something that I would like to explain to you. The WOZ value is not the market value. The WOZ value is the value that the municipality gives to the property to be able to make the house taxes, the property taxes, for you to pay the sewage taxes, the water taxes, and your normal taxes that you paid for the city hall. There's nothing to do with the value of the house, nothing to do regarding valuation, nothing important for the bank, for example. This is just for the city hall to be able to make up the taxes for you to pay every year that you normally pay in Eindhoven, end of February, beginning of March. So just for you to understand. And from April 22, the law will say that you have to live in the house by yourself for at least 4 years before selling the house. Of course, that's something that will bear the investors to come and buy as they were doing. I had myself a few investors last year, and it's unbelievable how anyone has a chance. No one has a chance when they come. They come with let's say a property of 350K. They come with completely no financial need, only cash. And if the house costs 280, they will offer 380, for example. They just don't care, which makes it impossible for people to buy a house. And in this way, we believe that it's going to give us the opportunity to have a fair run for the house. 6% of municipalities are already part of this scheme. I believe they already started in Rotterdam, for example, in other big cities. They already started with this, and you can already see the difference. Also, national mortgage guarantee went up from January this year and went up to 355. So 355K. Be aware that's something that I have a lot of people ask me about this. 355 has to be the purchase price of the house, the final purchase price. This is not the asking price. This is not the market value price. This is just 355. So let's say you are looking for a house that costs 3,320. So, and you offer 360, and then you think, oh, I can finance 355 and I pay the rest with my money. No, it has to be the final price. The purchase price has to be 355. If it's 355.1 cent, you're not going to be able to get NHG. So be aware. What is NHG? NHG is a kind of mortgage that gives you better interest rates. They're quite low as well compared to the other ones, and also give you a bit of security in case you are not able to work anymore because you had some kind of accident, or maybe if you lose your job, in case if there is a divorce in the middle. So those are the things that you might get that if you have NHG, you will be kind of protected. Of course, not forever, but it's quite different than having a normal mortgage from the bank. So that's why there's a lot of people that want to be in this maximum value of 355, but then of course the competition is more higher. You have to realize that as well. And if you're looking for a house that you want to buy with the 355, I would say be in a budget and look for houses around, I would say 300, 320 max. Then you are able, because normally the prices that you see on Funda are not the market value. In the Eindhoven area, the prices are around 15 to 25K more than what you see on Funda. If you want to know the real value of the house, and you have to have a valuation report to be able to get a mortgage. And in that valuation report, the valuator, the appraiser, will put the real value, market value. So that's why if you want to buy a house around that, you want to buy a house and have NHG, the National Mortgage Guarantee, you need to look around 310, 320 max on Funda. More than that, I believe you won't be able to get 355. You're going to have to pay more for the house, and then you're not going to be able to have the National Mortgage Guarantee. Interest rates rise. We all seen that in the television, on the news. So here is also some things that an article that you can read more about it. Although the interest rates are going up, the price of the house are also projecting to be higher. However, it's a bit less than the growth that we had in 2021, which was insanely crazy. So just it's still 12% is quite a lot, 11% is quite a lot still, but it's a little bit less than it was last year. You can read all of it about it. If you have questions, again, please feel free to ask them afterwards. Oh. There you go. This is very important. I see a lot of people coming to me and ask me how much do they need in cash to be able to buy a house in the Netherlands. So I would say around 4 to 5%. In the Netherlands, you can only finance the value of the house, the market value of the house. Remember, I told you that you need a valuation report made from an appraisal. So that's how much you can finance. And everything else, notary, mortgage broker or the bank, transfer taxes, an agent if you need one, and the appraisal, that's mandatory, technical inspection if you must, interpret, that's mandatory if you don't speak Dutch, the bank guarantee, it's mandatory, and of course if you want to go with any HD, you have to pay a percentage to be able to do that. You need around 5%. If you are younger than 35 years old, if you never bought a house in the Netherlands, if you buy a house that's up to 400K, you don't have to pay the first line that you see, the transfer taxes, the 2%. Then you can calculate that you need to have 3% in cash. So 3% of the purchase price. It doesn't matter the value of the house. It will be 3% of the purchase price. And if you're older than 35, if the house is more expensive than 400K, then you have to calculate the 5% from the purchase price. So that's what you need to have in cash to be able to buy a house in the Netherlands. One thing that you might not have to pay here is if you buy the house by yourself, of course, you don't need, if you don't have an agent, you don't have to pay that. The inspector, if the house is too new or if it's the apartment is too new, you don't need an inspector, you can take that away as well. And if you're not buying a house with any HD, then you don't have to pay the 0.6% from the purchase price to be able to have that specific mortgage. But everything else, you will have to pay. It's mandatory. You can see here the things that are tax deductible. That you can have in the next year when you do your taxes, you can have some value back. It's quite a lot actually. So keep all the invoices from the buying process, and then that you are able to take a lot of money back afterwards. But to be able to do the process, you will need 3 to 5% in cash from the purchase price. Remember that, from the purchase price. 3 tips to win in the current market. So we put it together, a few things. Value. We in the whole company actually talk a lot about values, because we see a lot of people have no idea about it. Again, the value that you see on Funda, the asking price that you see on Funda, most likely that's not going to be the real market value. Some agencies, they put the price very low to have much more people coming to the house, and then the bidding goes really high, and the overbidding goes insanely, and some people put as close as possible to the value, but still you can go a little bit higher. I think lately I see 1 or 2 houses that actually have the real value on Funda, and all the other ones were way too low. As I told you before, you can calculate around 15 to 25% above the Funda price. Of course, not for all the houses, but what we see more or less is around 80%. That's more or less the difference. We put together some comparisons, so you can see this apartment house had an asking price of 395, and then you can see here, this was the asking price on Funda. Market value done by an appraisal. He went to the house, took pictures, and make an evaluation report, official one. That's the one you need for your mortgage. There's no escape. That's mandatory. You have to do it. That the market value was actually 415. So you can see already 20K above the market value. So the purchase price was actually 435. So when you go into viewings or when you talk to someone and they say, wow, you have to overbid around 20% above the asking price or 10% above the asking price. So be aware. You need to understand that normally people are talking about the asking price on Funda, and that's how much they overbid. But actually, when you look at the market value and you to compare with the purchase price, let's go a bit further, you can see that you actually only overbid 4.8%. From the asking price, yes, the overbid is 10%, but from the market value, it's 4.8%. Which in 1 year, if the market grows like it is today, 12%, 14% a year, it should be fine. There will be no problem. One thing that I always talk to my clients when they ask me, is it worth it to buy it or not? So if you're not intending to be in this country for 3 years or so, think about it. Maybe it depends on how much more you pay from the market value. It's not worth it because you won't get your money back. But if you, in this case, for example, it's 4.8% more, then it will be worth it to buy even for the 3 years only. But normally we say 3 to 5 years at least, especially if you have to overbid too much for one property. Here we have another example. When the asking price, when you put asking price here, it's the one you see on Fundo. 375, market value, this was quite high, 415, and then the purchase price, 435. So again, from the asking price on Fundo, it is quite high, 16%. And then, but then again, 4.8% from the market value. So this is something that you need to consider. And so not that I'm not telling don't listen to people all the time, but be aware of that a lot of people only think about the asking price that they see on Funda or in the agency's website. They don't realize that there is a whole other value that's going to be done by an appraisal. And how can you know that value? Yeah, that's something we do. It calls purchase price review. We do a whole search and see what is the real market value, and then we advise our clients based on that. So it's very important that you do your research as well. What does a winning offer need to have for you to be able to buy a house? First of all, of course, offer a good price. Not always the highest price, it's the good price. Be aware of that as well. Since a lot of people don't know that there is a market value and there is an asking price, a lot of people put any price and subject their offer to 100% finance, that they want to finance all that whole price. So I will go back here to explain to you. If you put it in your offer, for example, that you want to finance the 435, the selling agent already know that's not going to be possible. Remember, I told you can only finance what the appraiser puts on the report. And in this house, the appraiser will put the report that the house is worth at 415. It doesn't matter if you pay 435. It doesn't matter if you have a budget of 1 million. Bank only going to give you as a mortgage the 415, the market value done by an appraisal. So if you made an offer and you put it in the offer that you're going to finance 435, the agent won't even look at your offer because he knows it's not going to be possible. So this is not, that's what it means, not always the highest price. They are realistic, so they will not gonna accept your offer knowing that you're not going to be able to have a finance accepted. Offer security to the seller, offer the least amount of hassle, and offer a personal touch. It's very nice to tell a little bit about yourself when you send an offer, and why you like this house and those kind of things. Also, that you already talked to someone about your financial power. As I told you at the beginning, please talk to a mortgage advisor. Be sure of how much you can borrow and all the whole financial process, because that will give the seller much more security. And even if you don't have the highest price, but if they can have sure that your mortgage will approve and they will be paid, they will choose your offer. I am literally a person that been through this process, and when I bought the house that I live today, I didn't have the highest offer at all. I didn't have it. I couldn't go higher as the other people. I gave my max. Of course, I'm in the market. It's a bit easier for me if people know me, the agent knew me, but the other people who made offers, it were like completely crazy offers, completely high, and they had no clue about the whole financial process. So they ended up taking my offer. So that's something that happens, and it happens quite often actually. Due diligence, what are you going to need when your offer gets accepted? You're going to need a technical inspection. This is something that you have to decide if you need one or not, if the house is older than 30-40 years, and if they never did renovation before, I think you should have an inspector to doing that, inspect and see if everything is okay. But that's something you can look also before you send an offer. Always ask for the documents of the house when you make an appointment to see the house, and those not just the house but the property. In those documents you can find a questionnaire with a bunch of questions about the house. They're gonna say in those questions if they will ask if the seller already had a leakage, if it's fixed, if how old is the roof, when did they do the last renovation, and based on that document you can decide if you need a technical inspector or not. And then you can see all the renovation they did. Maybe they had an old house like I had, very old, very old one, but we renovated everything, bottom to top, everything, literally nothing is how it was before, only the windows, because I'm not allowed to change them, it's a monument, and then but everything else is new, pipes, wires, everything. So I believe people don't need a renovation in my house, and still a lot of things are still with guarantee. But when I bought the house, yeah, I did it myself because it was just a nightmare. So it was really old, and I think the last renovation was about in the 60s or 70s, so it looked bad. So that's when you need a renovation, right? Because changing a whole roof can be very, very, very expensive. I would say expensive, like 20K, 30K, depending on the size of the house. So then you can, based on the documents, you can decide if you need it or not. The appraiser, again, it's mandatory. There's no escape. Here's one tip if you doing this by yourself. I like to have the appraiser, the offer gets accepted, I like to have the appraiser right away in the house, not signing the contract before he's at the house, just to be sure that you get the market value that you were thinking about it. Because if you have any kind of surprise, you have to pay the difference by yourself in cash. Otherwise, you have to pull out of the deal. Depends on what all the clauses you put in your offer, or you're going to have to end up paying 10%. Do you remember the bank guarantee thing? You're going to have to end up paying 10% for the seller, to the seller. Do you book them before or after you accept your offer? Well, as I just said, after you accept the offer, you can book them already. And I would say don't sign anything until they have been in the house. This is one of the timelines I was talking about it. After offer gets accepted, you have 1.5 weeks more or less to do those things. They will send you the contract, a concept of the contract for you to understand what you sign in. You're going to make the appointments for the appraisal, for the technical inspector. You also have to find your notary. That's another tip. Go for the cheapest one. They all do the same job in the Netherlands. All the contracts are made by a very important association together with the government, so people cannot just write their own contracts, which makes everything very safe. But of course, they have amazing buildings here and there, and they pay more rent for it, and you ended up paying more for the work. So choose the cheapest one. Use the one who's going to pay anyway. After you have all this done, it's time for you to sign the purchase agreement. The purchase agreement is the deal between you and the seller. And this is the contract you're going to need to be able to get your mortgage approved. You're going to sign, it's going to be sent to the notary, and then it's going to be sent to your mortgage advisor as well. Yeah, this all happened in 1.5 weeks. It seems a lot. It is quite a lot. And one thing I want to say here, be aware of the agents that are selling the house that pressure you to sign this purchase agreement before that. If you do, just be careful. Just be careful and see if all the clauses are there, the financial clause was there, make sure the appraisal was there already, or at least that you know the number he's going to put in the report if he's going to be there after. And it's still, after you sign the purchase agreement, you do still have 3 days, we call the cool-off period. Those 3 days, it means that you have 3 days to literally pull out of the deal without paying any penalties to the seller. You will have to pay the appraiser and the technical inspector if they have been in the house, of course, but you don't have to pay the 10% bank guarantee to the seller. You can just pull out. Those 3 days have to be on working days, so no weekends, no holidays. So sign your contracts on a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Then you have more days to think about it if something goes wrong or you just don't like the house anymore. After those 3 days, the only way you can get out of the deal is if you don't get your financial approved, if your mortgage don't get approved. Of course, if you have the financial clause. If you don't have the financial clause, you cannot pull off the deal anymore. You're going to have to pay 10% the bank guarantee to the seller to get out of the deal. The timeline, that's the big timeline that is nice for you to see. So we start to search, get your offer, send your offer and get your offer approved. After approved, you're going to have the appraiser and the technical inspector be in the house. If everything is fine, if the inspector, the report is quite nice, the appraiser gives the price that you wanted to have, it's time for you to sign the purchase agreement. After signing, you have those 3 cooling off days, cooling off the period, and then you're going to start your mortgage application. We put here an average of 4 weeks to approve your mortgage. It depends on the people who you work with. It can be even faster, 1.5 weeks. They're quite fast. If you already have the signing purchase agreement and the report, the official one from the appraisal, they can be quite fast. I think 2 weeks, 2.5 max, it should be approved. Unless, of course, a bit more difficult, the mortgage advisor needs a bit more documents, but it takes about an average of 4 weeks, but most likely will be before that. When your mortgage application is approved, there's nothing you can do anymore. You just only have to wait for the notary time to come to be able to go to the notary. We call this a statement of completion, is when the notary is going to send you the last invoice for you to pay everything. For example, to pay the mortgage advisor, to pay the agent, to pay everything that you have to pay. Remember those 5% and 3% that I was talking about it? That's the time when you pay everything to be able to go to the notary. Before you go to the notary, you are entitled to have an inspection. We call this a last inspection. Let's say your notary transfer deed, the transfer date is on the 11 o'clock in the morning. So about an hour before, you're going to go to the house with the selling part, and you're going to do a inspection in the house. The house has to be in the same state as it was when you sent the offer and when it got accepted, when you signed your purchase agreement. Nothing can be changed. If something was broken in the meantime, the seller has the obligation to fix it, of course, but he cannot change anything in the house anymore. He can renovate something if it's broken, but he cannot just break a wall because he doesn't like it anymore, or paint a new wall because he just doesn't like the color anymore. That's not allowed. So that's why you go to the house. In this time, in the inspection, you also can take pictures of the meters of the house, the water, gas, electricity, and then because from that day on, it's your responsibility to pay that. And then you go to the notary. The notary will do your transfer deed and your mortgage deed. Transfer deed is the contract between you and seller to pass the house to you definitely. And then you have the mortgage deed, and that's the deal between you and the bank about your mortgage. It takes about 45 minutes. That's when the translator will be as well. Another tip: always speak the English one if you have if you're comfortable with English. Any other language is much more expensive, so go with the English. But I understand if you want to have your own your mother language. I did with the first house, and then with the second one we went for the English one because of course I'm in the field, it's easier for me, but it's half of the price really. And then you're done. From that day on, I have a lot of questions such as, can I go to the house at the same day? Yes, you can. The house is yours. You sign at the notary, you can go straight to your house, do your move, do whatever you like to do. It is your house. Remember, you need to have house insurance. That's also mandatory. And for some banks, it's also mandatory life insurance. That's something that the mortgage advisor also will guide you to do so. And it's the end. Now, we have after the key handover, and I wanted to point it out, this is a very, very gray zone. I see that a lot of comments about this, that after you get your keys and you move to your house, we call this 2 months of liability period. I would say lately the 2 months are quite long. I don't see people being able to claim anything anymore during those 2 months. Let's say you move to the house and after a week or two you see that there are some radiators that are not working anymore. Most likely you didn't do anything for them to not work anymore. So you should contact the seller, and depends on the case, he will fix it for you. And that's why I want to say it's a gray zone. There's nowhere saying that he has to, and you were entitled to do your technical inspection. You saw the documents of the house, and if in the documents he put it that all the radiators were working, most likely you didn't break them when you moved in the first weeks or so. So I always tell my clients, turn it on everything. Use everything as much as you can in the first weeks, because if something goes wrong, then you still have a good contact with the seller, and he will fix things for you, or he will guide you to do the best. But also be aware, you're not buying a new house. I had that happen before. A client that bought a house that had, I believe it was like an 18 or 25 years old kitchen, quite old, but everything was working when they moved in. And then after 4 weeks, the dishwasher broke, and then he wanted the seller to buy a new dishwasher for him. So this where the gray zone comes. He used it for 4 weeks. The kitchen was old. He knew it. So what are the odds? It's just literally bad luck. So of course the seller didn't fix it. So you need to be aware that when you're not buying a new property or something that is not with a guarantee, that those things can happen. It doesn't happen often, but that's why I want to explain a little bit of the liability term, because it is a very gray zone. So be careful with that. Let me go further. Oh, here. That's it. We can, here is how we can help you. This is all our package that we have in our company. You don't have to pay this right away when you start to work with us. You pay a deposit. The smart package is $299, complete package is $399, and new build is $299, and the rest of the value you pay only when you get the keys of your keys of your house and the notary. So if it takes 6 months for you to get the keys, you're going to pay only in 6 months. If it takes a year, it's a year. If it takes 2, it's 2. So that's how our services work. Please get in touch if you like. I can explain a bit more, or still, if you have questions, it's a lot of information. Feel free to reach out to us as well. And good luck. But I think we have questions. Yes. This is if you're interested to do an intake with us, you can make an appointment with me for the Eindhoven area, and all the other areas you can talk to you'll be able to talk to all my colleagues. Yeah, and let's see about the questions now.
Well, actually, we don't have many questions.
Okay.
I think we just have one come in. Oh, sorry, there's some action going on over here.
It's your cat. He has a very pretty cat.
Yeah, one of my cats actually got neutered today. It's pretty funny. But yeah, back to the questions. If there are any questions, please pop them in the Q&A so we can go over them now. I have a question from Parag. Well, this is more of a question for a mortgage advisor. But the question goes as, who are the best mortgage lenders right now? Do you have any idea about that, Diovana?
Well, it's a very hard question. I'm going to tell you why. For example, if you work for ASML and you have a bonus, there are banks that don't accept your bonus as part of your income. So and also depends what kind of a bonus you have. So that's the thing. It's hard to say which one are the best now, because they kind of adapted to your situation. And that's one thing I didn't say before that maybe it's nice to mention now, is that if you go to ABN, for example, if you go to Rabobank, if you go to ING, you have to go to the 3 of them and talk to 3 different people to get a sense of what your financial power will be. If you call a mortgage advisor, he will be able to access around 42 different institutions, Dutch institutions that provide mortgage. So that's why it's so difficult to tell me what will be the best ones right now, because it depends what they put it in your and seriously, people will be surprised of the things that those banks choose from your salary to use as to tell your budget. So That's why it's hard to answer. But the thing is, if you go to a mortgage advisor, he will have access to around 38 to 42 institutions, and then they can choose which ones fits best, not just for your budget, but for your payslip, and then see what is going to be best for you. That's all I can say. I'm sorry.
Thank you for answering. I think that's already very conclusive. Is it correct that we do not have to overbid on new build properties?
Yes, that's correct. New build properties, there is no, most likely you're going to have to try to get in the waiting list to buy the apartment. But once you're there, you don't have to overbid. No, definitely not. The price that you give, it's the price that's going to be the cost for everything. And normally they can arrange everything as well, such as notary, everything for you with the same price within the price. And of course, you can upgrade the apartment, the property, and then they of course can offer you those packages as well, and they're going to be a little bit more expensive or not. But there's no overbid. What is very hard is to subscribe and get the apartment, actually, because a lot of people are in line to try that.
Yeah.
Correct. But actually, Ludo, you are the perfect one to answer that, right? Because you just did a webinar about new builds.
I just did a webinar on new builds, indeed.
Yeah,
mostly. Well, there's no overbidding, indeed, on new build properties to secure the home, but there are a lot of other costs that come in play. But you see a lot with new build properties that you still need to put in a kitchen, for example. Even the bathroom isn't included, and you can make it as crazy as you like. And everything that comes on top, of course, costs extra money. Plus, in Amsterdam, if you're, well, this is of course based for Eindhoven, so maybe not to give too much information about Amsterdam, but here we also have a thing called a ground lease, and that needs to be paid on top as well. That's literally when you buy the apartment, the concrete, but you don't buy the ground. You lease the ground from the city hall or from a private leaser. So that's how it goes. We don't have that in Eindhoven. Luckily, there are a few houses in Nuenen. You probably heard about the village, but not in Eindhoven area. No, we don't have the ground lease. So if you buy a house or a property or apartment, you buy everything, the ground, the property, and everything. But in Amsterdam or Rotterdam, I believe as well, right? They have quite a lot of ground lease where you buy the concrete, but the apartment or the house, but you have to pay a lease, you have to pay rent to be able to live there because of the ground lease. That's how it goes. Going on to the next question, I have a question from an anonymous attendee. In case we want to pay in cash, should the transfer be done from a local bank, or can it also be done from a bank abroad? It can be done from a bank abroad. Of course, you're going to have to explain where the money comes from. They're going to know, the notary will do a whole background check on that. You're going to have to prove that's that's just good money. But you can, it's possible. I had many clients that did that before. Cool. Okay, thank you. Then a question from Umar. What is the time period between the end of the cooling off period of signing the purchase agreement and the actual signing of the transfer deed and therefore receiving the ownership and paying? That depends. That's also something you can ask when you go to see the house, when you go to the viewing. The selling part can actually choose when they want to transfer the house to you. Well, I would say now they can choose on this market because it's insane. If you don't like the transfer date that they give it to you, they will sell to the next person. But of course, years and years ago, you could negotiate that, but not anymore. Unless you have an amazing offer and pay a lot for the house, they cannot refuse. But most likely they will refuse. But yeah, normally when you go into the viewing and they're going to tell you when the transfer date is, and let's say we are end of March. Even if they say there's a house that is available right now, you won't move in the next 6 to 8 weeks for sure, because you need around 4 weeks for the mortgage, and then the notary needs time to make the mortgage deed and the transfer deed. I would say at least 6 weeks, 7 weeks to move. But that's not easy to find. I have to be honest with you. So I would say I have clients now that I have one client went to a viewing yesterday, and the house is going to be available only in December. So people who are going to see the house and make an offer, they have to be aware that they can only move in
They can only go to the notary and take the keys in December. But then I have clients who saw a house that they can move in June, July. I have one that is moving in end of May, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't think that we're going to have time enough to do everything. But yeah, actually you have to ask at the viewing, and then the selling agent will tell you, and you probably won't be able to negotiate. Yeah. So there is no timeline for that. Actually, you have to go with the flow.
Depends a little bit.
Tricky.
How can we find new build properties in Eindhoven?
You can also check on Funded though. Oh, I'm sorry, Ludo, you didn't finish the question. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no worries. No, it came on to be that indeed.
Yeah, you can also check on Funded. All the new builds are there. You can select it on the left part. You can select new builds, and then you can see everything that is being built around Eindhoven area. You can totally look at that. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, then another question from an anonymous attendee. Given the asking price of a house, how much of a percentage of cash would I need to have in hand to be able to buy that house in Eindhoven?
You need, as I told you, you need to have, it doesn't matter where in the Netherlands, you need to have around 3 to 5% of the purchase price to be able to buy a house. If you are younger than 35, up to 400, your first house, then it's 3%. Anything above that, if you are older than 35, houses or well, it doesn't matter if the house then is up to 400, you're going to still pay the 2% transfer taxes because you are older than 35, and up to more than 400, then you need to pay 5% of the purchase price. It doesn't matter where you buy it. That's how it goes. You can only finance the house, the valuation, the value that the appraisal gives for the house, but the costs, the buying costs, the process of the buying process costs, you can't finance, so you have to pay, and that's around 3 to 5% of the purchase price.
Okay.
Just one, I want to add one thing to that. That is not counting if you want to overbid, if you want to put your own money because it's your dream house and you want to bring something else. That's just for the costs. Huh? If you want to put 10, 15, 20K more, that's up to you how much you want. I have clients that paid 50K more for the house because they love it so much. So that's up to you. That's only for the costs of that's just the buying process costs.
Yeah. Do you also see houses in the neighboring cities like Veldhoven, etc.? What would be the range there? Yes,
definitely. Veldhoven, Heldrop, Helmond. Helmond is growing like insanely crazy. The houses are still with a good value there. Of course, the competition went a little bit up now because people start to realize one thing about Helmond. I'm not sure if everyone knows it, but it's a small city with 3 train stations, which nobody understands why. Not even Eindhoven has 3 train stations, but they have 3 train stations. So basically everywhere you live in Helmond, you can access a train station and be in Eindhoven in 10 minutes. So, and the prices are much better than Eindhoven. So Helmond, Heldrop, Veldhoven, Valke, Best, Sonnenbrugge, what else? Weert, I have people read that bought it there. That's, yeah, it's literally put Eindhoven in the middle and you go around and around and around, definitely. Actually, most of our clients are not buying in Eindhoven, they're buying Eindhoven area, but that's Veldhoven or any other city around.
Yeah, okay. Also a good question. If the house price is more than 350,000 euros, does the self-occupancy obligation still apply?
It has to be the WOZ value, not the house price. Then yes, but it has to be the WOZ value.
Yeah, and I think good to keep in mind is that the WOZ value is always lower than the market or than the market value and purchase price, meaning that if you're buying something at 400, it might seem that the self-occupancy clause is not valid anymore, but actually the WOZ value is only 300, and therefore you still have the self-occupancy clause.
Yeah, there is a website. You can go WOZ. If you put WOZ on Google, you can see the website for just for that, and you can put the postcode and the number, the house number. You can already select the WOZ. Yeah, you can see.
Perfect. That was it, actually.
That was it.
For all questions.
Okay.
If there is anything unanswered, of course, please go ahead and schedule a call with Diovana or with me, so we can talk about some personal, well, not personal life, but personal questions.
We never know.
Exactly.
Yes, no, yeah, but feel free to contact us, send us an email if you still have questions, or if you think something else about something else tomorrow. If you need a name of a mortgage advisor, if you don't have one yet, I can give you a few names. One thing I want to tell you and that I forgot to say before is that normally the houses that in Eindhoven area, they come up on Funda around after 9 o'clock in the evening. So put your notifications, and then you're able to get and don't wait to call the next day. Send an email immediately, and then also call the next day, because I see that a lot of people are having trouble to get the appointments, but it's because they come late in the night. So and there are a lot of agencies as well that put their house on their social media before Funda, 1 or 2 days before, and then after that they put on Funda. So maybe subscribe to those social medias or newsletters, and then yeah, and then you can maybe have access to the house before they go on Funda, at least a few days before, and then it'll be easy to get an appointment. Yeah, that was something I want to say.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll be sharing the presentation with everyone tomorrow, together with the slides and the recording as well, so you can rewatch us 4 or 5 times. It'll also be published on YouTube, so if you want to send it to your parents or whatever, you can still do so.
And again, have questions, we know where to find us. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, thank you thank you, Ludo, for assisting me.
You're welcome.
And take the time for it. And now I hope everyone still can go outside and enjoy the weather.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have a nice evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.